Hey, it's your girl Go Queen with the Q Chat podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our latest episode. Before we get started, I want to give you some information on how you can grab some Q Chat merchandise. Go to www.goqueen.com and there you can purchase any Q Chat merchandise or any of my Go Love Yourself tees. So go ahead, take a look at the website and feel free to grab some merchandise today. There's something else I want to fill you guys in on. If you haven't heard, Anchor is the hottest and easiest way to make a podcast. It's the best price in the world, free. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And just remember, Anchor distributes your podcast to all streaming platforms. It's super simple. So go ahead and sit back and get ready to listen to the next episode of the Q Chat. But don't forget, go to www.goqueen.com and grab some merchandise. Thank you for tuning in and get ready to listen in. Go Queen! Okay, so we're recording a new episode of the Q Chat, and I have Miss Tanya Miller with me. She is an author, a speaker, and a coach. So I want to go ahead and give Tanya the floor because she has an awesome platform that we're going to talk about. So how are you doing today, Tanya?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Sharonda, and to the Q Queen Chat Cast family? How y'all all doing?
Awesome. So we connected through this awesome podcast, this group, and you also have a similar platform with empowerment. So before we get started, just give everyone a background. Like, how did you get started?
Um, I feel like that's a loaded question you asking me.
Tell us everything.
Basically, basically, I had a nonprofit years ago, and
Mhm.
I had what is called the the vlog that I have now, talking with Tanya, and so that's actually something I've had for over 15 years now.
Oh,
And
wow.
um, so I had and was keeping that going. But now I am also all the things that you'll see when you look me up. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a strategist. And it's coming from basically me having a time in my life, which we may even get to if not, a time in my life where I became stuck in my own head and wanted to get out of my um head out of my life. You know, I was stuck
Mm-hmm.
in my head, but then I wanted to be out of my life because I didn't like it. It was too much
Mm.
going on. And so from that, I literally became just numb. And so in being numb, I was like, do you still want to do this? And sometime or another, I considered not. And what I mean is not just not doing the vlog, okay, y'all catching me, but doing
Mm-hmm.
everything because it was so much. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up going to church,
Mm-hmm.
and that day at church, they prayed for me, and when I got back up, I knew I wasn't ready to give up on everything, and I got myself in therapy. And so, just like you said, it's a whole time right now to be talking about all of this because it's mental health
Right.
awareness. And so, what we'll be talking about, Mind Matters, is the project that came out of that time period in my own life.
That's amazing. So just barreling back, like, and I think we've all experienced it. I know I've definitely experienced it. I talk about it a lot on the show. Just having moments where, like you said, where you really do feel stuck. You know, like I
Mhm.
was in a period maybe a year or two back, I would wake up every morning and I would literally say that to myself. I'm like, I'm stuck because I was in like a situation I wasn't happy with, working for a company I wasn't happy with. I just felt like I had so many stresses in my life. And I would literally use that phrase every morning. To me, normally a person gets up and we're not all perfect. We don't necessarily think to have gratitude for waking up every morning. But if anything, I do think the last thing you should think when you wake up every morning is how stuck you are. And that was
Correct.
like the first thought in my mind.
Mhm.
So what led you, prior through your breakthrough, but what had you feeling stuck? Because I feel like a lot of people are in ruts and it's hard for them to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's definitely hard because let's just be honest. Culture wise, it makes you feel less than, inferior. It makes you have thoughts of shame and guilt, and then that especially if you are a believer, then it makes you think, well, am I sinning for not believing that I can get out of this? If I'm not strong in my faith, like there must be something wrong with me. Like it always
Mm,
points to there must be something wrong with me. But
right.
the reality is it's something wrong with everybody. You just made the decision and the choice to go do something about it. And so there's no
Mm,
shame in it. There's no guilt in it. There's nothing that you should be ashamed of or feel like is wrong. If anything, I'm proud of you, or whoever you are for making the decision to go take care of you because not often is that something that people be willing to do. And so yeah, like I'm happy you went and took care of you because that is something we need to do more of. We don't just need to go after we done fell apart and had the breakdown.
right.
We might need to
Mm-hmm.
go when we start feeling it, so that when we start feeling it, we can start working on those coping skills and those boundaries and processing that loss or processing that grief or
Mm-hmm.
or that hurt. So yeah, like we got to get over that stigma. We got to get over it and
And
be willing to do more.
I'm glad you touched on the cultural aspect because I feel like, and I've mentioned this too in past episodes, I feel like definitely in the African American community, and most of us were raised with a religious base. I mean, I think that's just something that is common with most of us. So I feel like we're taught to pray it away, and there's definitely nothing wrong with prayer. But like you mentioned, you sought therapy. You know what I'm saying? I feel like sometimes we just have such a hard time dealing with mental stressors, anxiety, depression, stress because we don't know how to handle it because we don't realize, that there's no shame in seeking therapy or there's no shame in just simply reaching out and telling the next person, because we're conditioned when someone asks you, well, how you doing? We give the person a generic answer. Oh, I'm doing great, doing fine,
Hmm. Doing
but
well, doing
right,
okay. Yeah,
exactly.
and
We're
not
not
willing
going to
to pull back that layer of the truth.
Right, we're not gonna admit, well, hey, I'm falling apart. Like I'm having trouble sleeping at night. Like we're not conditioned to say how we really feel.
Correct.
So I think one of the great moments, is when you get to a point where you start to identify what's going on in your life. And you can identify that just by simply being honest to yourself, simply by reaching
Hmm.
out to someone, seeking therapy. There's a process to identifying because if you don't, you will keep going through patterns. And I know I felt like in my life, I was going through patterns. I'd have moments where I was dealing with stress and depression. Then something good would happen. And then I'd have these seasons, I like to refer to it as, where it's like, okay, I'm winning here. So it's just like I just put a band aid over like a gunshot wound, So
Hmm.
there was no, it just comes back to the same thing. So
Yeah.
I know, like you mentioned, obviously, that you've been on this platform for like 15 years, and obviously, you experienced it though. Like you went through being stuck and you were able to
Hmm.
transition. Before we get into the 7 days of Mind Matters, and I know, like, that's one of the things you mentioned in the 7 days of Mind Matters being stuck, and how to be unstuck, even in a crisis.
Hmm.
So, before you got to just being able to the point where you were able to have that message for other people, because I think there's phases when we overcome things. So we get to the
Hmm.
point where we realize we're in a rut. Then, some of us are lucky enough, blessed enough to seek that help. But
Hmm.
then I think there's a stage afterwards where you kind of at a crossroads on, well, okay, well, do I just move forward with what I just learned or do I share it with other people?
Hmm.
So, what got you to the point where not only were you able to work through your issues, but the fact that when did you get to the point where you were inspired enough and bold enough and have that confidence to get it out to other people?
Well, I think first, it was something that I kind of always did, but I knew I literally knew it was going to come out. I just didn't know how because
Mm,
when I was writing Mind Matters, I was writing it for somebody. I just didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. Like I was literally saying, I don't want anybody else to ever feel stuck. I don't want anybody to ever feel like this. Can't get out of their
mm,
head. Can't jump back in life. I don't want anybody else to not know how to talk to somebody that's in this, in a a spiritual battle, in a um mental health issue crisis, in anxiety, in depression, in PTSD, in postpartum depression, in
mm,
whatever it is that they're in the middle of. not know how to say the right things or even just be there. And so I was writing for them. So I knew it was for somebody and it was for something. I just didn't know how or when. And so for me, I wanted to wait until I knew for sure when and I knew for sure time. But that didn't negate me talking about me or life or just how I deliver my messages, if you will, when I did my blog, Talking with Tanya, or when I did, speaking engagement or something like that. That didn't negate me bringing those life lessons and stories in whenever I was, helping somebody. I think where it changed for me, I was always okay and comfortable telling that testimony, that story, but it was this newest one where it was a challenge because I literally had lost so many people in 2 years that were very close to me that I was just like, yo,
Mm.
your girl might need to go make sure she okay.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
as I mean, because let's just be real. Mental health is the buzz now, but before you tell somebody you needed a mental health day, they be laughing because they be like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
you just trying to go get your feet done and your hair done."
Mhm. Right.
No, not necessarily. But if that's part of what makes me feel better and I can recognize me again and I can love me again, why is that a problem? I think there's so much
Right.
title to what people think and what people assume self-care should look like, or even just getting back to you and taking that time for you. People, I hope coming out of this that people have a better understanding of it, and that
Mhm.
I hope that people appreciate what it takes to make sure you you keep your mental health in check, because it's a whole bunch of people that thought they were straight, but they don't realize they wasn't, and they was the main ones denying people's days off, denying their time, denying their ST short term, denying their FMLA, denying their long term. It was a whole bunch of people talking noise because they didn't hadn't had life happen to them, but some of
Mm.
them that had a wake up call. Because
Right.
sometimes, especially even with the corona, it's like some people it don't seem real to uh Uncle Roger got it, or
Mhm.
you know, uh sister sister-in-law got it. It don't
Right.
start seeming real till you can put a face to that disease. Then it
Mhm.
changes things up. And so it's the same situation until you in a mental health crisis, whatever it may look like, or experiencing somebody that's in one. You don't have the greatest understanding. You don't have the greatest empathy until you
Mhm.
walk a mile in their shoes and had to still act like everything was okay and you fine and you good and you straight. Uh,
Mhm.
things change when you actually see it change for yourself.
Right. Right. That, and you're right. I just feel like there's so many layers. So just like you
Mm,
mentioned, just some people just don't even have the concept of having a mental health day or self-care, or just the fact that some people, it's hard for them to process things in general. I just think the term mental, that's the whole phrase mental, the definition of it has such a negative stigma on it
yeah.
that saying anything with mental, the word mental in it, because back in the day, some people would describe someone as mental. Oh, so and
Hmm.
so they mental. That's not even the
Hmm.
correct, you know, usage.
Terminology.
Right. It's not even the correct uses of that word. But,
Hmm.
people just like to just put a stigma on everything. And it's sad that of all things, that's the last thing, people should put a stigma on is mental health. Mental health is just as important as making sure your cholesterol is in check,
Facts.
making sure that your nutrition is taken care of. That is so
Hmm.
important. And I just feel like a lot of us are walking around, and I always say us regardless of what stage we're in. A lot of us are walking around broken,
Yeah.
because we can't identify it, or we're ashamed, we're embarrassed, or we're just in. Some of us in families, you better not go tell mom and daddy, oh, I'm depressed. They're like, what is, what is that? It's like, what do you mean you're depressed? Like you can't even express that you are having issues, even with anxiety. One plus I will say after this virus, I feel like some people were more comfortable saying, hey, I'm having a hard time dealing with this.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
even I
Oh
had
yeah.
some friends who I was like, okay, they were being 100% transparent. Like, look, I'm having a hard time dealing with this.
Hmm.
So I do feel like, in a sense, people were more comfortable in a way to at least admit that they have anxiety, because some people can't even admit that they have anxiety problems. Or they don't even realize, oh, if this certain situation causes you to even breathe heavy, or you get a headache or something, that's anxiety. Just a lot of us can't even identify it, I think, because a lot of us are used to being stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily have to be stressed out, but I think we're conditioned to as adults that, oh, well, certain problems just come with being an adult. Yeah, of course,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have issues, but like you said, we can also learn certain coping mechanisms, certain boundaries, things of that nature, so that it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be as bad.
Yep.
So moving forward, and I'm really excited to talk about this, the 7 days of mind matters. And like one of the
Mm-hmm.
main things I noticed when you have the first one was like staying unstuck, even in a crisis, and you broke down it in 7 days for a week. So
Mm-hmm.
let's start with the first one that you have listed for day one. And I know the first one is basically identifying, like you mentioned, what's going up there in your head, really. So
Mm-hmm.
can you elaborate on just the first step with the 7 days of mind matters?
Yes, child, because I want to know. Like, I need to know what's going on. I need you to know what's going on in your head because you said so much, so many nuggets. I hope everybody caught them and chewed them up and let it marinate. Shoot, because you went in, ma'am. You went in, Sharonda. So all jokes
I've been
aside,
there, girl.
all jokes aside, like you gotta at least know what's all up there because you
Right.
literally can be on so much at one time, or you can be making one thing so big that you don't know you forgot what you know how when you get in a fight with a
Mhm.
spouse or a friend and
Mhm.
y'all stay mad at each other for so long, y'all forget what
Right.
y'all fighting about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Right.
kind of like that. I need you to know now what started this again? Like what's up there? Like tell me one more time. And so ask yourself that. Like what's really going on up there? Do you know? Do you know what you're dealing with? Do you know what you're trying to face? How you gonna know what to, do the work on if you don't even know what started it, the background of it, the who, what, where, and why. And so
Right.
I'm getting you to ask that question because you need to be able to identify what's getting you. You know, I always say to heal, you got to deal. And so
Mm.
I'm good with you feeling your feelings, but if you want to start this wave and this work of getting unstuck, then I need for you to ask that question so you can actually write it out, so you don't have to keep it in your mind. Write it
Mm.
out, pull it out, spit it out, throw it out, whatever you got to do. But that's what I need you to do, because if not, you're not really gonna know what you're doing and why. And so, yeah, I'm gonna ask you to ask that as the first question because you need to know and be able to identify what's trying to get you and what's trying to take you down.
I love that. To heal, you got to deal. Like that, you need to put that on a shirt before I steal it. It's like,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is like,
It's a
I
done
love
deal.
that. I love that. Like, and I mean, that's probably one of the best things I've heard in a long time. Like that. I love that. You're right. In order to heal, you have to deal with it. And I think that's the that's what leads us down the rabbit hole because
Correct.
it is hard to deal with things, and I fully acknowledge that. Like I have a upcoming show that I did with Mr. William Poole, and he has dealt with addiction for like over, I want to say maybe like 20 years or so. And he brought up as a male how, he was sexually abused as a child, but he didn't even discuss it until he was a full grown adult, had been addicted to drugs for the longest of time.
Hmm.
Now he was trying to numb that situation. And he
Yep.
said he was even surprised when he said it to the therapist because that's
Hmm.
how much he hadn't dealt with it.
Yep.
So I just feel like it's a fact. You do have to heal in order to heal. You have to deal with what is going on. You have to identify it because just like when you go to the doctor, you can't just go to the doctor and just sit in front of them and they supposed to just guess, without you giving
Yeah.
them any details. Like, I mean, it's impossible, so there's the only way they can treat you, without realizing what the problem is. So I just feel like that is super important. And that's why a lot of us, we sometimes we get so deep where we really don't know how to pull ourselves up because, we haven't taken the time. And I'm not knocking anyone in that stage because we've all been there where things have lingered longer than, they had to, because we don't know how to identify certain things. We're taught to numb things or just to put things aside. But that's when I feel like you open the door to get in the danger zone, because sometimes we find other negative things to numb those problems, so
Mhm.
that's where things can get dangerous. So, and I know one of the actions you had listed on day one was to write it out, get it out, and that your mind matters.
Mhm.
So, what are your suggestions or tools to like get it out, write it out? Like, do you suggest, journaling, or like what other actual ways do you think would be helpful for someone to just get it out?
I suggest whatever form of um multimedia way, except for social media, that
Yes.
you can get it out. So if writing and journaling is your thing, cool. If creating a cartoon, a comic strip about it all is your way, cool. If doing a song or a verse or a spoken word about it is your thing, good. If it's art, you want to make something, pottery, you want to make another creative piece, do that. You know, paint something, draw something, whatever it is that will get out the feelings and the history and the hurt and the emotions of it. Get it out, because you might not be, or even voice record it to yourself. Don't play it for
Mm,
nobody else. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
This is just for your side. You need to heal, so you need to deal, but you don't need everybody else in it. You know what I'm saying? And so
right.
that is the suggestion, because you might not be a writer. You might not like to write. You might not like to journal. That might not be your thing. But writing a rap and a verse in a rap might be your thing. Writing, a creative short story about it all and expressing it that way may be your thing. The whole point is to get it out. So whatever is
Mm,
the way that you can get it out so that you don't stay stuck, that is my suggestion to you. Because you need to know, how you feeling. You need to know, you know, all those things so you can begin to answer yourself, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Are you good? How you feeling? Why do you feel that way? Why are you doing what you're doing now? What's going on? Like, before you can even understand how to ask yourself those questions, you got to deal with it. So get it out,
mm.
and so we can actually start getting you to this other side, to the healing side. So yeah, it's definitely important.
Most definitely. Now, I know day two, you have what are you dealing with right now?
Hmm.
So, which is along the same lines, but you have
Yes.
what are you dealing with right now? And the action is be here and now, work through it. Don't stop living because of it. So, let's
What is
elaborate
that
on that
from?
one. Yes.
Because I specifically said now, because
Mm,
some people are still stuck on what happened way back when. And I got
mm,
you.
mm-hmm,
Cool. But what
mm-hmm,
is actually happening right now that is making you feel what you feel, bringing up what you feel? Let's put a focus and put some effort to heal that right now, because you know it's something about right now. So it could
mm,
be a trigger that triggered from that. But what is it that triggered, so we can know what did the trigger look like? What did it do to you? What did it, you know, we gotta start being in the now and the present, because if you always want to just, when you go to the therapist about talk about everything then and you still ignoring what's now and what you're doing with it right now, that's a problem too. You gotta speak on what's actually happening in the here and now so that you can figure out a way to push through, work through. And child, even, if need be, my mama would say, deal with it before it deal with you. Like,
mm.
you still telling me it is, but there's some stuff going on right now that we ain't even paying no attention to. I need to get your attention
Mm.
on that, because this right
Right,
here is what we can do something about. Right now is what we can do something
right.
about. I can't change yesterday, but we can for sure do something about right now. And so I want to make
Mm.
sure we at least tackling that too. I need you
That is
to
true.
tackle the now, because the now is what you have power over. You ain't got no power over that. What happened when? You got to heal from that. You got to work through that. But this, we can deal with this. We can do this right
Mm.
now.
And I'm glad you brought in power, because you're right. We unfortunately we can't change the past, and all of us, if you've had a perfect past, great. But
Yeah.
normal people, have dealt with unfortunate instances that happened in our past that, as you mentioned, we did not have power or control over. So that is a
Mhm.
good point for anybody listening. We can't change the past, as much as we would like to. We can't, turn back the hands of time. Things that have happened, and they they're there. But you're right. Now is where you do have the power and the control. So that is one way to kind of flip the narrative. If something from the past, has scarred you and is really bothering you, it's left an open wound and something that you really were powerless over. That is one way to flip the narrative, though, to look at it like, okay, I do have that power today to get past this and heal on it, work on this, so that is one good, very good way to look at it, like to flip the narrative. Now, for day 3, you have what will it take? So the action is do what you need to say what you need to say, just get out of your head and jump back into your life. So it all still ties together,
Mm-hmm.
but if I had to interpret that, I'm looking at it like, like you mentioned, like we have the power today, just how to get out of it. So, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of like one of those things, and I heard it I don't remember where I heard it, but I think I might have heard it in group therapy where he said the person was like, "I need help," and so think of it, the terms and times where we're in right now. So you like, "I need help, God, I need help, I need somebody, I need help," and so it comes in somebody dropping off groceries, but you're like, I don't like them kind of groceries. I don't like that food. So and then you still talk about, I need help, I need help, I need help. So then it comes with somebody bringing you some, just some supplies, some bleach, some toilet paper, some hand sanitizer, some gloves, and you like, I already had that. I need help, I need help, I need help. And then it's somebody where they noticed that your fence was breaking down some, and so they wanted to, because it happened after the storm, the hailstorm, or the rainstorm, and they were like, well, let me do this for you. Like, that's not really what I wanted. I need help. I need help. I need help. And so when your house get foreclosed on, and you talking about you being left homeless, and you ain't got no food and you ain't got no supplies, then the Lord, like, I sent help. I sent 3 different people to at least open the door for you to get help, because they were not just bringing what they were bringing solutions and answers, but you turned all of them away. So
Mm,
what do you need help with? And so this is me just basically saying, you in the midst of so many things where people have tried to deliver and offer you help to help you get unstuck and to get out of your head, but each and every time you pushing it away. You you're not doing nothing with what the messages are, the answers are, the things he's saying, and the people he's using to get to you. What are you doing with what you've already been told? What are you doing with what you've already got? What are you doing with it now? What will it
mm,
take for you to start seeing some of the help is already there? Some of the actions have already been laid out. You just ain't doing nothing. So what will it take? So yeah, that was
mm.
where it was about.
That I like that one too. You're right. I mean, I think sometimes and it all goes back to the same thing, like you mentioned, identifying in order to heal,
Hmm.
got to deal with to heal. So I feel like it all is a full circle.
Yep.
So let's see. So day 4 was, will you get out? And the action is make the most of this time. Don't just get through your feelings. Process what's behind what's making you feel stuck and work your way out.
If that ain't a word for today, that's for today, y'all. That is for today. That is a whole one for
Right.
today. Okay.
Right.
Yes, but this one, it was about, you know, sometimes you're still stuck because you choose to stay stuck. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do you want to get out? Like, at some point, I might have to ask you that. At some point, you might have to ask yourself, because is it easier and is it more comfortable on this side of what you do know to work your little self on up to the other side of what you don't know? Sometimes people are more comfortable in their pain and in their problems and their trauma than they are with trying to find purpose, trying to find happiness in a new day, trying to live again, because that's a whole lot that they can't absorb, because they don't know, and because they've been hurt so many times, they just stay right where they are.
Mm.
They don't, because they ain't ready, they ain't willing, and they sure ain't able to do whatever it takes, and to just want it again, because it's, a lot of people say, I want this, I want
Right.
I want to stop this. I want to stop that. But the commitment and action comes when you actually see them doing it. You actually hear them talking differently. If every time you come around them, they still talking about, I want to, you gotta kind of ask yourself, do you really want to? Do
Mm-hmm.
you really want to?
Right.
Have you
Right. Are you
finally,
really ready?
yeah, have you finally decided to feel all these feelings and work through this
Mm,
entire process? You know, because that's the only way to get out what's in. That's the only way. That's the only way. And so
mm,
I got it. Yeah, so I'm at this point. I'm at the halfway point because I'm looking. I'm like, are you sure you want to get out? Like I gotta ask. So that was my checkup in the day seven in the 7 days. Like I gotta call you out. Are you doing the work?
mm. Right.
Have you did what it takes?
I think a lot of that is fear. Like you said, some people they say they want the help, but like you said, sometimes people, as much as they say they want the help, they kind of still they've grown accustomed
Yep.
to suffering. They've grown accustomed to being negative. They've grown
Mhm.
accustomed to complaining.
Mhm.
They've even grown accustomed, like you said, and being let down and hurt so many times. They don't. It's like, oh, I guess this is how life is supposed to be. So as much as they may have done one of the steps in identifying, like, okay, these are some things that have hurt me, but they haven't taken the next step, which is, okay, how do I get out of it? You know? So I think a lot of that is fear too. I think sometimes people get so used to being in a rut,
Mhm.
being stuck, being unhappy, being negative, that they don't even know what's on the other side. Like it can't process that either because it's still going to be living differently.
Mhm.
As much as they said they want the help, do you really want it? Are you prepared
Yep.
for what's on the other side? Because hey, on the other side of getting that healing may be like you said, that other side may be, okay, it's time for you to be in the public and speak on a public forum. The other side maybe it's time for you to minister to other people. The other side maybe it's time for you to write that book or just to be transparent. Or the other side may be just no more complaining, like you really can be happy. But
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of fear involved, which is why a lot of times we put ourselves in our own prison. So
Ooh.
even though
Oh my, you
there's,
might hit it. Okay.
so like even though we know we've been through these past hurts, but we still begin to the point, some of us imprison ourselves at that point because it's like you're choosing at this point now. Like the past was powerless, but now, like you said, you do have the power now. So once you continue to be in that negativity, it's like, okay, now you're taking all that negativity, unfortunately, and you're building a cell for yourself. You're imprisoning yourself because now you really can't get out of it. So I think that's all in the fear. Like some people just get afraid. They don't know what's next, or sometimes they don't even want to do the work. I mean, let's be honest, sometimes they just don't want to do the work. Oh, I don't have time to go to therapy. I'm not telling somebody my business. you know,
Mhm.
I don't believe in that. That's white people stuff. Cause I mean, that's how some of us are in our own culture. We're not going to deal with a therapist, period.
Mhm.
So some of us don't want to take the next step. So at that point, that's when it's like, okay, you're choosing more than, you know, just being in a powerless situation because you really do have that power. So let's see. So day 5 was, which kind of ties into exactly what we just said, whereas are you ready to be honest, real, and open up what's been closing up to you, which is pretty much what we just said. So action, take a moment to be real and true with you about what's been getting to you and where it originated. So I think we've pretty much touched on that the whole conversation, but
Mhm.
you can definitely, take this and elaborate further.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. They definitely are supposed to connect and go together because we're talking from the same vein, and the work
Hmm.
continues. And so, with day six, I'm sorry, we on day five or day six. I done messed
So
myself
that
up.
was day 5.
I was like, I done messed myself up. I was ready. It's kind of that same thing,
Hmm.
of taking it to the point to where, for me, it's like saying, take a moment to be real and true with you about what's getting to you or where it originated. Because
Hmm.
the part of what really made sense and what I wanted to say is, you know, you're only doing all of this get into they say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So it can help
Hmm.
you. Like that's what it's about. It's not for me to be in your business. It's not for Sharonda to ask you shit. We both all just want to help you. And so you are
Hmm.
doing this process and staying committed to it is you making a decision to help you. You making a decision to be completely honest, completely transparent, completely vulnerable with yourself for yourself, because that's what it's about. So day 5 is just reminding you to stay committed, because this is for you. This is not for nobody else. This is for you to get
Right.
to be better and to get real about what's been getting you, so that you can get closer to the real you that's been waiting to come out this whole time. So it's the reminder to stay focused. It's the reminder to know that this work is for you, because it's a
Right.
whole you waiting on the other side to come out.
Yes.
You've been living a part life when you got a
Mhm.
whole life available.
And that's another thing I just mentioned to someone the other day. I think sometimes too, we get more wrapped up in what someone else thinks instead of healing. So some of us, we're not going to admit that like the guy I spoke to last week for a future episode, like I said, he's dealt with a drug addiction. And some people are not going to even admit they've been through these things to get healed. And some people are not going to admit they're holding on to some past sexual abuse that's really hurting them as adults, but they can't get that next step of therapy because they can't talk about it,
Yep.
or they're, like, oh, what are people going to think about me,
Hmm.
and I think that's one of the main barriers to that hold us back, or just like you said, being real, because some of us, we have two different parts of ourselves. We have what we think other people see us as, which means nothing, quite frankly. And then we have that other person that we deal with when it's just you yourself and I, that
Hmm.
knows every single thing that you've experienced. Then that's that person that really is the most genuine form of yourself. You know what I'm saying? The one that needs the help, the one that has the testimony, the one that needs the healing. But sometimes we put that person aside because we're more focused on, oh, well, what will so and so think about me, if I admit I've gone through this?
Yep,
What
that's it.
will,
That is it. That's it right there.
right. Or we weren't, or sometimes in our minds, oh, well, I don't want to tell, I don't want to meet with a therapist and tell them this. These people have been trained. Like, this is what they do. There's nothing a therapist, I'm sure, will get in front of them that is going to shock them. I mean, that's what they're
Hmm.
trained to do. But, in our minds, we're talking ourselves out of it. Well, I can't talk to a stranger and tell them this. I can't admit this,
That's the person that ought
because
to be the easiest with, because they don't know nothing about you.
exactly, exactly. But I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in what we think is good and what we think is bad, or what we think will make us look foolish and what we think will make us look more acceptable. Instead of just focusing on, you need to focus more on what will heal you.
Yep.
But I just think we will hold on whatever we can sometimes to talk us out of getting to that next step.
Hmm.
So that is what's super important, definitely, about being real. So now, day 6 of Days of Mind Matter, staying unstuck even in a crisis. Day 6 was, will you sit with what's been sitting? Well, I'm sorry, will you sit with what's been sitting and weighing on you? And the action is, don't hold on to it. The thoughts, feelings, emotions, worries, doubts, anything that you shouldn't be carrying, let it go. Lay aside every weight.
Hmm.
So I definitely think we've touched on that too during the whole conversation.
Yeah.
But so I would say once you get to the point, I think day 6 seems like, to me, in my interpretation, is once you get to that phase where you identified and you seeking the healing. So how would you elaborate on what you would like people to relay from day 6?
The day 6 for me is basically, you know, you started to sit, you started to deal with it, you started working through it, but have you taken it off of you? Have you changed
Mm-hmm.
how you was doing things? If it was a certain way you was doing it because that was what somebody told you, have you switched that thing up? Like, have you only
Mm.
because you was only told when you was in that domestic violence situation that you could only wear your hair, your natural hair pressed or either with a perm. But have you
Mm.
made the decision? Because if you like braids, how you put some braids in your hair, like it's stuff like that, like changing up what you were, changing up and making things, the things that you was holding on to, the things that you were letting go, like, I mean, the things that were holding you and not letting you go, not letting you be now and
Mm.
present. What does that look like? Have you taken a new, have you taken on that new thing? Have you taken on that new look? Like, if you were always told you weren't going to be good enough, bad enough, and so therefore you needed no college or you didn't need to finish your high school diploma, Have you signed up for that
Mm.
GED class? Have you signed up and applied for a college or a community college in your area? Have you started to do what you're saying? Because that is
Mm.
even the more of putting yourself out there. That's even the more of you making it known that I'm not playing this. I'm not playing this time. I'm doing what it takes. I am working through this because day 6, it ought to be a reflection of what I'm saying, so that people
Mm.
can see that I'm actually doing it. I'm doing the work. I'm not letting it just sit on me. I'm not just letting it weigh on me and I don't look like what I'm trying to do to do and be better about. I gotta look different too.
Right,
And it's
right.
not major steps. Let me say that to you. I'm not trying to tell you to do nothing crazy and drastic overnight, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, you know, if you let it go, come on and let it go.
Right, right. I agree with that one. So, day 7 for
Mhm.
7 days of Mind Matters, staying unstuck even in a crisis. Day 7 is, are you ready to get and be free?
Mhm.
Action. Let it all go. Give it away and surrender all. Don't become a hostage to any of your pain. So, like, it's once again, I feel like just naturally, we've definitely covered all 7 points just in what, we've developed just in the conversation. But this is definitely super important. As we kept saying, don't, basically what we're saying is the same thing. Don't become a hostage, to your pain. Like, you don't have to, like, you're bigger than that.
Mhm.
So definitely elaborate on the final day 7 for everyone that's going to be listening.
Yeah, so day 7 is literally that. We've took you all through all this. We went through all this. We said all this. Now is the opportunity to, if you're ready and you've taken all those actions, now is the opportunity for you to for real be free. You know what I'm saying? To be
Mm,
free, and be it in a way so much so that you don't let any of what was holding you, like you said, hostage, hold you anymore. You've worked through it, you worked through the pain, you worked through the shame, you worked through the guilt. Yes, it's been 7 days, but it's getting you to go to that new that you that's been waiting. It's getting you to be that one that's been ready to live unapologetically on purpose. And so if you there and you went through all these processes, you did all these days, you did all these steps and actions, now it's time to do the ultimate action. Now it's time to get and to be the whole complete start work on those assignments, start working on the other side that's been waiting on you to be free and actually be free indeed. And so if there's anything left, this is kind of that final reminder. Let it go, fam. Don't give it
mm,
away, surrender it.
right.
Don't, like we said, we've all said all day, don't become the hostage to this. If you starting to even begin to see the light of what it looks like to see the other side of this, then you know that you don't want to go back. And so even if you trigger, even if it comes up, even if you see a sliver of it come your way, repeat these steps,
Mm,
repeat these questions, repeat these actions, and do the necessary work so that you can keep moving, so you can keep knowing that I may have gotten stuck, but I don't have to stay stuck. And that's like what
right.
that day 7 is kind of reminding you. Even if it happens again, you know what to do. You know what it takes.
Right.
You know how to work your way out of those sticky moments and those sticky situations. You won't stay stuck again. Or at least not as
Mm,
long. You cut some of that time off where you put into practice some of these things that we talked about. You might have been stuck for, 6 years, but now you only stuck for, 2. I ain't saying it's
right.
supposed to be easy. And then you stuck at
Mm-hmm.
now the next thing you stuck at 2. Now you're able to just be only stuck 8 months. And so you
Right.
will see the more you're able to land better and work through all
Mm-hmm.
of this, the more you're able to fly and to be free.
Now, one of my biggest platforms that I mentioned, I drive it to people that are probably sick of it, is go love yourself. So I'm
Okay.
very big on self love
Mm-hmm.
and just valuing yourself, because I feel like when we don't have that self love, that's also how we fall in the pits of depression, or we fall in the pits of being stuck in the past, or just being stuck in any negative situation, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like sometimes we don't value ourselves like we should. Now, is there a way that you could tie in everything to self love? Like, do you see how self love, like a way that you can like
Yes,
pinpoint it
sis.
to the listeners, how self love would just, also help, drive through just being bigger than your past and
Mm-hmm.
not being stuck?
Yeah. I mean, part of self-love, a part of being stuck is reminding yourself how worthy you are, how how um
Mm,
how much, love it is that you should even love yourself first. Self-love when it comes to being stuckness is literally the reminder, hey,
mm,
if you love yourself, you're willing to take this work. You're willing to do what it takes to get unstuck. If you love yourself enough, you want to see what you can be on the other side of this. It's all about loving you. And by loving you, you're willing to take and make sacrifices. You're willing to do hard things. You're willing to go deep to go wide. You know what I'm saying? And so self love is
mm,
really the catalyst. It's the pusher. It's the pusher behind the purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get weary and frustrated and mad and you want to give up, some of that, like you said, anxiety, depression creeps up. I love myself too much to stay in this. It might be
mm.
hard, it might be difficult, but I love me. I love me. I love me. I love me.
Yes.
Say it, leader. Like you got to
Mm-hmm.
say it again. That's what I love about affirmations and I am statements. You got to say, I am
Mm-hmm.
loved. I am worthy. I am chosen. I am above this. I am not in this to stay in this. I won't stay stuck. I am one that will get unstuck, and I will be doing my life unapologetically on purpose. Like you got to be so confident in knowing who you are, and whose you are, even to know why your love of you matters. You or why
Mm,
you matter and why your mind
mm.
matters. And so, yeah, it all ties together. Self love is the catalyst. It's the great hope to the faith.
Yes. And when I just, if one person meets me and I start talking to them about what I believe in, if that one person just takes away, like, okay, she really truly believes in self love, like
Hmm.
I would be 100% satisfied because that is my biggest platform. So, just wrapping up everything that we talked about, what is the main thing that you would like people to take away from this conversation? Not only just from from this conversation, just if someone had never heard of you and they looked you up today and they wanted to know what is your true message, what would you want a person to take away from your platform?
That I help people and organizations figure out how to fit the puzzle pieces of life together, something like Mind Matters, so that they can do life right and well. I help people and organizations to do life and leadership unapologetically on purpose. And I want to do that in the many ways that which that my purpose is producing itself. So if that's a podcast interview and you get it, that means I hit you wherever you were at. If that means you see me on social media, that means I met you wherever you were at. If you come across my books, that means I met you wherever you're at. Wherever you're at, if I can be able to produce and to use my purpose and push it in that way till that reaches you, I done my part. Because for me, it's all about you doing for real, life unapologetically on purpose, setting up businesses in the
Mm,
same way and doing the purpose that's in you. Because, it's not about the product. It's not about the business or the service. It's more about my purpose. And all of that is just how my purpose has produced itself here to serve and to help and to be there for people. But my purpose is always still to help you figure it out, to help you do life, unapologetically. And so I love the fact that you gave me the opportunity to come on your show because you's the bad lady, girl. You done got some awards. You done listen. You done did your thing. And you are very much like you said about self love, self empowerment, and then just doing all of that. And then Buster out, she's like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna produce my purpose in a podcast too, so I can help other people
mm,
along the way." And so I love your heart to do that. And like you said, I love your heart to just overwhelmingly make sure that you promote self love because even as you do business, even as you do life, even as you do whatever you take, as you call it, to chase your dreams, if you don't
mm-hmm.
love you, you won't be able to get far. If you you
Right.
won't be able to get far if you don't love you because it's gonna show. It's like when the lady got that tag on that new dress or item and the tag showing,
Mhm.
it's the same way. It's gonna be
Right.
very much evident that you don't love you because it's going to show. It's going to show. It's going to show up and show out. So definitely, fam, definitely do the work. Get connected with my sis. check her out. Check out her t-shirts. I'm sure they're bomb. Check out my message t-shirts because I appreciate the love and I'm just trying to get to where my sis at. So definitely y'all support, pay attention to what she's providing, in this podcast, this free education, these free tools, this free answers, this free coaching that she's giving away. And know that the way you support her even the more is by subscribing, liking, collaborating, connecting, commenting, just putting her name out there, so she can grow to the next level on this new venture that she's doing with the podcast because she got a whole message too. She got a whole purpose too. And so when you guys support both of those things, you help her fulfill her own. And so support, rate, review, comment, like, buy some t-shirts, go read the blog, like do what you need to do because she has a whole message and it's not going away. But with your help, it goes further. So thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. I always got to give love back to the people that give love to me because sometimes people forget that just because we're on to talk doesn't mean that I'm not able to be on to celebrate.
No, thank you. And for anybody listening, when you guys, and before we end the show, I'm going to definitely have Miss Tanya give all her contact information. But the first thing I want to say, when you guys go to her page, you're going to see this beautiful Black woman with these glorious braids. Okay. And she literally wears her braids like a crown, number one. So I'm
Everybody,
sorry,
I
but
have a cousin that said that he calls me Princess and Queen because he's like, it's like a crown the way you wear it. I was like, okay.
it is. And to be honest, every time, and that's like the first thing that triggers me because number one, I'm obsessed with natural hair and braids too. But like, that's like the first thing. Like, whenever I look at your page, I'm like fascinated. Just the fact that the hair, because like I grew up in an era where my mom always said, a woman's hair is her crown and glory.
Mm-hmm.
So just the hair alone, like I'm just telling people once they go to your page, once they're already going to be fascinated and drawn in. Just the way you carry yourself, I feel is extremely regal, and that's going to grab them in number one. But thank you, because I've always said that I feel like you mentioned, we do all have a purpose. And I feel like when a lot of us have gained, just this blessing to be able to speak about what we've been through, to have a purpose and to have a message and a mission, I feel like God starts putting people in direction. And just like you, people I've had in the past on the show, it's just like it's like magnets. We were just been brought together to have a message to give out to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always indebted to every single person that has been a part of the show, because I do live every single day. Like, you have to love yourself. If I wrote a book just simply on all the mistakes I made in my life when I did not value myself, it would be as thick as a dictionary. Like it's a
But
huge
you don't use it
encyclopedia.
all though to get you here. Even though you went through it all, you've used it all as well to get to where you are now to be able to share it that freely and empower people and let them know the reason you talk self love is because you learned how to do it yourself first.
Right. And that's the thing that I feel like sometimes, and I think we've all had experiences where, we may have like encountered someone that's like overly pious, or just, I don't know, it's just a message that we don't necessarily rock with,
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes people like that, the huge thing that is missing is they don't give the test in their testimony.
Correct.
They just come off like, oh, I just woke up one morning and I'm perfect. My life is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to talk to those people. Like, I like the people that are honest, because I'm transparent. So I think that's the only way to reach people, is when it's like, hey, I struggled. Hey, I woke up in the mornings thinking I'm stuck, or hey, I went through a period where I needed to seek help with a therapist. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's the only way to truly reach people, is to be transparent. So I'm 100% indebted to every single person. Every person I've had on this show has been extremely transparent and just 100% genuine. And like I said, if it just reaches one person, that's more than enough. And they receive the
Absolutely.
message and they go tell the next person and they receive the message, and so on and so forth. Because that's how you spread the word, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
you reach people and touch them. So like I said, I'm always indebted to every single person. I definitely thank you. I love your message, and it's so positive and it's so real too. And I just feel like right now, especially now, because a lot of us have had more time, with ourselves, and more time to reflect on things. I think in any situation where you see loss of life so just rampant, I think you can't help but process and think about your life and what you've gone through, and how things can be different, or you start to understand the fragility of time, like, okay, time is really fragile and precious. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like you can't help but reflect, and I would hope people would think, oh, okay, well, this is a time, if there's something lacking, I definitely can work on it, because life is extremely short and fragile. So I definitely thank you, and I definitely love your message.
Thank
As
you.
anyone listening, you guys know how I'm going to end it. You have to go love yourself. Once you do love yourself, you'll realize you're bigger than the enemy in your life. You're bigger than your past. You're bigger than your distractions or your addictions, your depression. You're bigger than all of that. So I always will say this: go love yourself, please. Like, just understand that you are invaluable, you're precious, you're special. Whatever you have in your heart, everyone has a purpose. If your purpose is just getting up every morning and inspiring your children, if your purpose is just getting up every morning and just being present, some of us have energies that are very, it's like people can't help but gravitate towards it. That may be your purpose, just is just being. Whatever your purpose is, just make sure you love yourself, because you can't achieve anything. So before we go, Miss Tanya, I want you to give everyone all the information on how they can find you, how they can get your materials, your shirts, your books. So just lay out everything so people will know how they can reach out to you.
Sure. So I am at Talking with Tanya on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. That is where you'll find me on social media. My website is tanyajmiller.com. On the website, you'll see information on speaking, because, hey, you might ever want me to come to a speaking event or engagement once outside is open again, or while we're doing this virtual life, or from now on. Hey, look out for me, connect with me. You may also want to work with me as far as strategy sessions with your organizational leadership. I do those as well. Check me out. It's information on there. Also, the coaching that I offer, there's information on individual, sorry, not individual, um, one class at a time, or multiple class type projects. I mean, not class, group. Ah, tell you, multiple coaching packages are available online. And then I also have a school at school.tanyajmiller.com, but the link is still at the website, and it's online classes on life and leadership at your pace, for wherever you're at, for whatever you see that is out there for you to be able to engage in and do at your own pace, because you might not be ready to work with me in a coaching class, but you may be ready to work and apply some of the online classes there to your life right now and do it at your pace. So
Mm.
that's out there. And then there's also the shop.tanyajmiller.com. Direct link is on the website too. But that's where you'll find books, journals. There's six in all, as well as message apparel, which is message tees, message buttons, stickers, and mini message flashcards as well are out there. So check me out. And if you decide to connect, you can always do so at bit.ly, all caps, join fam, and you will get 20% off your first order. So maybe good to shop with me. But if not, you can definitely get the books on Amazon, because I'm a Prime girl. So the books are there in
Okay.
print, digital, and audio. I'm also an audio girl, so I had to put the books in audio. And then the journals are there in print. I'm sorry, in print only. So check them out. one of the books, one of the journals that is available in digital. It's the mini book, the Pro Series. So check me out. Check me out. Definitely would love to hear what you guys had got out of this episode, with Sharonda and I, the cute queen, the go queen. So definitely would love to hear what you guys got out of the podcast, this episode, as well as just, like I said, showing Sharonda the support that she needs to go even higher, so she can reach as many as she can reach, to give that message of self-love, self-hope, and self-empowerment. So thank you so much, Miss Queen. And I hope that this will not be the last time we get to connect. And
Oh, it
appreciate you
definitely won't
guys.
be. I really appreciate you. This has been like, I love when I do an episode where it also inspires me. And it's just the energy alone that has come out of us talking has just been amazing. So this is definitely going to be up there with one of my special episodes, because I just feel like people need to hear this so much, because like I said, everyone is greater than what they're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really, really appreciate you just being a part of this and just
Thank you.
participating and just putting it out there. Cause like I feel like the message that you have is just awesome. Cause people really need it, you know, and I just want people to just not be ashamed to say, hey, I need help, or hey, I
Absolutely.
do need a life coach. This could benefit me to seek a life coach, you know, and just put it out on the table what I'm trying to achieve and just have someone else step in and say, hey, well, here's some tools on how you can get there. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. So I thank you so much. Once again, everyone, this was Miss Tanya Miller, the author, speaker, and coach, and her platform is How to Do Life and Leadership Unapologetically and on Purpose. So that's one thing we all need to remember, just how to live life unapologetically and on purpose. You can be greater. You can go love yourself unapologetically and on purpose. So thank you so much, Tanya. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.